Valentín here. I am from La Rhina del Barrio, Inc., and I'm mostly known for being the on-air talent and producer of Open on Proxnet Television.
My name is Willie Perdomo, aka Papo, aka Poeta del Barrio, and I'm a poet and a teacher and an East Harlem native, proudly so.
Hola, I'm Sonia Manzano. I create television shows for children, and I'm mostly known as being Maria from Sesame Street.
My name is Jorge Vázquez. I am a musician. I am an educator, a photographer. They call me White Rice because I'm everywhere como el arroz blanco.
You've heard of comedians in cars getting coffee? Well, this is 4 Puerto Ricans talking about Domino's and Domino table talks in a fragrance store. Pa que lo sepa, huepa.
I'm already used to calling him Papo because when we were teenagers, that's how I know him. And then, he became the great Willie Perdomo, and I struggle. I'd be like, I'm like, Willie, but no, Papo. And we just stick to Papo.
No, I said that. I said there's one of my favorite sounds in the whole world was one night we were chilling out in front of camaradas, and people would say, Willie, what's up? What's going on? And then all of a sudden I hear, Papo, from 2 blocks away. I was like, oh my God. I was like, it's like, because the neighborhood has changed.
Yeah.
So when you hear that sound, it's like a sound just coming out of the past,
In a sense, we kind of activated this space, right? Actually, this is a very popular establishment, I should say. It's gone viral, and this place is always packed. I think I mentioned that earlier. But what's beautiful about what they've done, aside from the beautiful perfume bottles that we see as options, is they've chosen to use Manny Vega's artwork as their front door. And I remember back in the day, it wasn't the actual mosaics. It was paper designs of his mosaic. And now it's mosaic art that's in front of the exotic fragrance store. So not only are they like a landmark here in El Barrio because they've been here for like 30 years, they also support the arts. And not only that, Manny Vega is the artist who designed this domino table.
When I was a kid and saw domino players, they sat on milk crates and they leaned back against the storefront, and I was always waiting for them to topple over completely, but they never did. They must have gone inside the bodega every once in a while when it was raining or bad weather.
Got it. So you're saying this is our version, right? Because it turned out to be somewhat of a gloomy day that it might rain. So instead of us stepping into a bodega, we stepped into a fragrance store.
So it's still this same old story, except the characters change.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. I went, so it's your turn.
It's my turn.
Yeah, it is. We're all immersed in her storytelling. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have Maria from Sesame Street.
Gosh,
I know I had to go there.
but this is
you're
real.
our nation's tia. Come on.
This is real. Like someone who was responsible for my education as a young person that would look like me on TV. I have my homegirl here from my teenage years when I was a kid, and then Georgie taught my daughter how to play drums for about a term, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is beautiful, right? Yeah, man. And we have the good Reverend Pedro looking over us over here. Pedro Pietri, you know what I'm saying? So it's a good day. It's my turn, right?
Yes,
all right,
is.
right on. This is where I learned how to be a poet, in that barrio, on the stoop, outside, while people were playing games and people would tell stories. And
Well, how were
everyone
you?
would chip in.
How were you introduced to poetry?
I think my mother was really responsible because she kept journals. She used to write like Walter Mercado's like predictions, quotes from movies. She has a notebook for the first year of my son's life, all her medical appointments. So really, I was in front of someone who was always documenting like her life, right? And then later, school. When I started reading, I read P.D. Thomas's Down These Mean Streets. I read Langston Hughes, then Ed Randolph at the school where I went to downtown because I got plucked out of PS 96. I went PS 7, PS 96. I got plucked out, and I went to a Quaker school downtown in the 80s. Yeah, and this is where my introduction to poetry. But really, I was already listening to poetry in a way that I wasn't conscious of on the stoop.
Yeah.
in multiple languages, by the way.
You keep saying stoop, but I remember you being on the mailbox. No, he used to be perched up on a mailbox with his notebook while we would play handball. And we were talking on 122nd and Lexington Avenue. We were part of a group called The Crazy Bunch.
That's right.
TCB. And he has a book now called The
And so that's where I learned, because you would be there, and someone would my turn.
Yeah. No, you can keep
Someone-
talking about, you gotta
someone-
think
someone,
and talk at the same time. I mean, yeah.
Someone would Hey, no, you can do that. 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 You can totally do that. No, someone would start a story on the stoop, and then someone else would say, "Oh yeah, I remember that," and then they would chip into that story.
Right.
And then someone would tell that story and go down the block and tell the story and embellish. They would make stuff up to add to the story. But when they were telling the story on the corner, it would come out through their bodies, right? They would point, they would clap. And you could just tell that at that point, the art of storytelling is physical, right? Like it comes through your body and outside, So that's really where I learned. It's like with music, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's like Plena. Plena is the Sun newspaper, right? So they would read
Sonia's your
the
turn.
Sun newspaper. They would read the paper and take it from town to town, right? Whatever story they had, que mataron Elena, whatever, go down the line, go to from pueblo to pueblo, and that's how the news go around, right? Until today, this is the Sun newspaper. So it's like the same thing you're saying, So you think about it, that culture still comes down the line,
That's right.
It's still here.
That's right.
It's like the artwork in the Barrio, right?
Yeah.
No matter what, the Barrio could be changing, but you have those little key points that says El Barrio was here. You know what I'm saying?
That represents
And
it.
that's right,
When you
represents
see
the
the
Barrio.
imagery,
Exactly.
like Manny Vega's
Yes,
artwork,
yes.
right? And then there's what you've done, Jorge, right? I gotta call you Jorge for everybody else. I'm used to calling you
You call
Georgie.
me Georgie,
I
that's
know.
right. People that know me
This
for a
is the-
long time.
Call you Georgie. And so, but you revitalized Plena here in El Barrio, and I want to make sure that we acknowledge that.
Yes.
And not only that, you're passing it on to the next generation. You're
Yes.
teaching right there on Julia de
Julia
Burgos on
Burgos.
106 and Lex. He's got a whole posse. I don't know
Yes.
how many of them, like 20,
They're good,
50,
they're
something
good.
like that,
Yes,
right? Next
and
generation.
Sonia has come down to my class, and I think before
Right,
Alma's
when we
Way.
were doing Alma's Way, the beginning of the show that's on PBS Kids, we of course had to do Bomba and Plena in the show because
Right.
it took place in my community in the Bronx, and it was very Puerto Rican. So we went to you and your class, and the producers came and they saw what it was, and so they could animate the characters doing.
Amazing.
That was fun. That was fun.
It was a lot of fun, and the kid, they were very thrilled to see the kids dancing Bomba and Plena, and we carried on and talking about dominoes. Now that we're in our third season, there was something about having dominoes in the series as well. So there's a little story where the characters walking down the street and they come upon a bunch of people playing dominoes. Now, why I thought that was important to me is funny to me because I didn't play dominoes. My parents didn't play dominoes, but somehow, if we were going to be in a Puerto Rican neighborhood in the Bronx, somebody had to play dominoes. So that said, can I go here?
Yeah.
Oh,
You
okay.
can go on either
On
side.
either side.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
then I'm there.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, she's gonna go. No, that's a really valid point because for as long as I'm from El Barrio. I know most people think I'm from the Bronx, but I'm originally from El Barrio.
Who thinks you're from the
Because
Bronx?
I'm a face and a voice of the Bronx. I've been on Bronx man for almost 20 years now, so a lot
That's
of
right.
people assume I'm from the Bronx.
That's right.
But really, it's representing the uptown culture is
That's
how I like to refer to it. And so, but growing up, one of the things that I always look forward to in the summer was walking down the blocks and seeing all the different people playing dominoes and congas. Congas was part of it too.
Right.
We always had a conguero on the side,
Right.
giving the backdrop
Right.
of what the environment was. That's part of our culture. It's part of like our urban culture. And I know you capture that a lot in Alma's Way, which I so appreciate because I saw the episode where you highlighted the Three Kings Day Parade, which I'm a part of as well. And I just love the way you did that.
I'm listening to like the dominoes hit the table, this this
Right.
sound going on right here,
Uh-huh.
and just thinking about like the soundscape of like El Barrio in our neighborhood where we grew up, and every story that you could tell was in those sounds, right? But it was so strange that as a kid, I thought the whole world existed on 122nd and Lexington, you know? Like the whole world. The Botanica was there, the Bodega was there, the social club was there, the number hall was there, everything was there. And it wasn't until I stepped out of El Barrio, I was like,
that you said the number hall.
there was like a whole nother world out there. Because on TV wasn't real necessarily. There was a world out there that existed that was like made of these happy families and
Right.
and all of it, but there was some other different things going on at home. That's why your presence was so comforting.
Right. Well, I mean, that's why being on the show was so important to me, because
right,
when I was
7.
coming up in the Bronx, I used to watch hours of television of those very same shows, and never seeing anybody who looked like me made me feel like I was invisible, like I didn't exist.
Right.
And what part was I going to play if in this society that was blind to my even being around? So,
Right.
of course, you have to see yourself reflected in the media, and television is one of the most, all-encompassing medias. But being in the Bronx and coming to El Barrio to see my grandmother, I thought El Barrio was like Puerto Rican Central. I didn't want to live in the Bronx. The Bronx wasn't as hip as it is now. It seemed an isolated place to me. I mean, though it was a real Puerto Rican neighborhood under the 3rd Avenue well. The 3rd Avenue well is still up. But we used to come down here and see los guys, los friquitines, selling fried food out of a cart. It was wild, and all of the stores that had the pork in the window with the lights, with the keeping it hot. I mean, and eating pig's ears and cuchifrito. I mean, which I could never get behind. My father loved it, and I used to try it because I wanted him to love me.
Just talking a little bit about
Hola,
the neighborhood
camaradas.
itself, La Maqueta. All right, so La Maqueta is a whole new thing now, right? La Maqueta Retoña, they call it, or I don't know what they call it now, but I know that there's all these upgrades happening. But back in the day when I was growing up, that was not some place you wanted to walk by because it smelled like fish.
Oh.
That was the fish supermarket back when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But I used to buy all my stuff on 116 because even though La Maqueta was Park Avenue, they also considered 116 from Lexington to Park part of La Maqueta. And they had all these stores with all these clothes. I remember I used to shop there all the time. And I'm bringing that up because it's very fascinating that they've been able to revitalize it and repackage it, for that matter.
It's going to be repackaged again,
Again,
Yes.
with the current mayor.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, they're gonna implement a city supermarket in there.
I remember the leaves for pasteles. You could go buy the leaves and the string. That was like, this labor-intensive work before food processing.
Yes, it was ridiculous. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Guayando.
Oh my
You used to guayar.
God.
And then in my family, they used to say, un poquito de sangre, eso le da sabor, un poquito de sangre.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Everybody would cut
Eso
their
no es nada.
fingers. Everybody's blood would be in the pasteles. And when we eat it, like...
That's why it was so
I mean,
good.
I don't know about that.
no, not anymore. No, but back in the day, it was a thing. Everybody would cut their fingers while they were. But now, no, of course not. I mean, that was before all these horrendous fatal diseases. I mean, even though back then they should have been concerned, but nobody was.
And then the people that would come from the island. That was also kind of, that relationship was interesting as well, right? Because there was a Spanish disconnect, a linguistic disconnect as well, And I also remember sometimes when it used to, how it used to rain? Like really hard for about 3, 4, 5 minutes. And someone without question would be like, oh, that's that Puerto Rico rain right there, like that.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like it would, all these little memories would just kind of show up that it's like being part of the island. Like we put ourselves together because we're made of all these little pieces, and all these pieces sort of come together to make this sort of whole story, you know?
That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's interesting. 'Cause
Yeah, no, it's not his turn. It's
whose
her
turn?
turn.
You know, I growing up in the Bronx, right? We grew up in a house. And that's what I knew was a house, right? And my father always making stuff in the backyard, and we had the scenes. In the back of my window, the scenes, the little wavy like plastic things. When the rain would hit that, you feel like you're in Puerto Rico, and that I slept like a baby every time I would hear that. You know, it's amazing how we bring that over here again. You know what I'm saying? We keep that a lot.
Right.
You know, just like what I'm doing, teaching kids. You know,
Right.
a lot of these kids are aware of their culture and they know why it's important to do that.
Yeah.
To be involved with Bomba en Plena.
Yeah.
They know that. You know.
Absolutely.
Like, you teach them the history behind it as
Teach,
well,
we
not
give them,
just how to play the
yes, not just how to
instruments.
play. You know, what we're doing right now is we're doing called something with tesoros. They're interviewing an elder in their family, you know, and that's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. So, you know, it's getting them to like, let me ask my abuela what this is. Why do you use this sofrito? Why do you use that? You know, so let them ask the questions that they are interested in knowing, you know?
You know, as much as I talked to my mother, and I did, I wish I had asked her so many more things. Now that on Facebook there's all these nostalgia pictures of Puerto Rico, I could, if she was alive, I could say, is this where you were, or was this your environment? And I don't know, and it breaks my heart that I didn't know what questions to ask, and she wasn't exactly forthcoming. And so I always tell young people, you know, ask them specifically, like, what did you wear when you went to school? What books? You can't just say, how was school?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, that's harder to answer. It's more specific. What did you eat, or who took you to school? Then you get a better picture of what their lives were.
Yeah, you're able to like really absorb the vision
Yeah, I mean,
and
you know.
experience it.
Yeah, the language is key, right?
Yeah.
That's a key piece, I think, for the New Rican experience, especially
my turn.
in what's called the diaspora, especially, right? Like, because when we started going to school, you couldn't talk Spanish in school. And if you started, they would stop you in your tracks.
My goodness.
Yeah, and so you get your Spanish at home. But if your parents were interested in assimilating, they wouldn't talk to you in Spanish either. Right? So it wasn't like mommy would be like, you know, aquí habla español, you know, she wasn't on that.
Right.
So she would reply to me in English, and I would talk to her in English, and then after that, slowly but surely, all the Spanish that I learned from ages 2, 3, 4, 5, gone. Yeah, and so I had to sort of get that all back, and music was the thing that helped me. Like I would repeat all these like salsa lyrics, like you know, like phonetically, and I would just repeat it and just kind of see what they mean, you know.
I was speaking a lot more myself.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I would speak a lot more Spanish, but then
It's my turn.
it changed to English. But my mother, I remember listening to all these like salsa songs, and I would ask her, "Mommy, what's this word? What's this word? What's that word?" And speaking of my mother, boleros. Every Sunday, I used to listen to boleros with my mother, and rest her soul, every Sunday I still do that.
Yeah, you're going to my heart now, man.
Yeah,
My
that's
mother,
cleaning day,
Tito
right?
Rodriguez, man. The window would go up, the little tacita of rum, a cigarette, and she look out the window, and Tito Rodriguez playing in the background. And there was always a song that it would. You know how the albums used to skip because it would be playing so much. I still know the song where it would skip. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But that's the way she was parsing her heartbreak, right through like the music. And so music was always like, it was there, you know. But my mother used to work for like Upaka houses, and she used to run camps and all that. And one of the things that happened, this was during the Young Lord's time, and we would be in day camps, and I could remember stomping down the street, and we used to stomp down the street and say, BB, walking down the street. These were activist chants.
Yeah.
In a way that I didn't know. So my mother was kind of part of that. So she had a sense of her own sort of empowerment. And she was born in Puerto Rico, but then she, you know, migrated here.
So, you know, I want to go back to you and getting in trouble in school and now in having classrooms named after him in schools. Listen, so my daughter attended East Harlem Scholars maybe for like 2 years. And that's located on 106th and Madison and Park, where the Graffiti Hall of Fame is. And she, in the first grade, she was in Willie Perdomo, which is a classroom named after.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, look at that.
And I was like, Papa, look, wait, I have my daughter. I was like, that's my boy, Mama. I grew up with him.
Oh, that's great. That's a terrific connection.
I know. I just think it's interesting, right? He's over here talking about how he got in trouble and now he has classrooms named after him. How
Look at
awesome
that.
is that?
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I gotta love. I'm making sure that we insert the Barrio history into everything that we're doing, right?
Well, I'm looking at this picture of Pedro Pietri across the way, and we were talking about language a minute ago, and I'm paraphrasing a poem of his to his grandmother, Tata. I'm sorry, Pedro, I'm paraphrasing your words, but he says something like, my grandmother Tata has lived here for 24 years, and she doesn't know a word of English. That's a true sign of intelligence.
That's right.
You know the poem, right?
Yeah.
But you know, your comments remind me about the casitas, that Big Bird came to a casita and I wrote the script, and it was a casita right in this neighborhood.
A casita is a special kind of house, just like they have in Puerto Rico.
That was the very beginning of casitas happening, where people made kind of a Puerto Rico environment in the city.
That's right.
Right, by making gardens and stuff, and now it's all over the place. But
Yes.
at that time, I mean, that was a really great example of using the outdoor and urban environment to suit your needs, to suit your memories.
Yeah.
My teacher that was here in el barrio, Jose Rivera, that passed away last year, Joseito was the person that showed me how to play piano, how to make those instruments. And he was in the top of the Cuchifrito spot, the famous Cuchifrito spot right there on 116.
Right?
Okay, it was Aurora Flores had a place there.
Yeah.
And he had a place in the back, and that's where he was doing his classes and doing his taller. He had his taller, and it was awesome, man, because I was looking for culture. I was looking for my culture, and Joseito was that man. And
Oh my gosh,
I
you guys have to
learned.
play while it's smelling all that food all the
Yeah,
time.
oh, yeah. We were smelling. That's right. That's right. We were smelling that every once in a while.
It's
But
a
the thing
landmark
is,
here. Yeah.
I learned about my Puerto Rican culture here in El Barrio. So that's my connection. But
Well, you know, I
Look at
just
that.
love
We're
that.
beautiful
El
people.
Barrio has left a mark on everybody. I mean, it's part of my upbringing, and my memory of El Barrio is that, you know, like the song says, un verano en Nueva York, but it was really in El Barrio, it was something. Once the summer came in, it was a matter of like getting all dressed up to walk
Magic
through
time.
Lexington Avenue,
Magic
right?
time.
Go from 122nd Lexington all the way down
Magic
to
time.
like 103rd, right? Because nobody was going up the hill, and then go down to 3rd Avenue and go to the Washington Projects, which we
Magic
called the
time.
D at the
Magic
time,
time.
and then we would go back up and stop by Jefferson, go to Taino Towers. It was, and that
the
was all
whole
we would
thing.
do. That's what, we would stop at every corner and talk to whomever we ran into. It was really an
man.
interesting
Yeah.
time.
Like a plaza in Puerto Rico,
Exactly.
much bigger.
Exactly, and people would be playing dominoes outside and tocando la conga and what else? Stickball
Stickball.
and what was that?
Skellies.
Yeah, Skellies.
Kick the can.
Handball.
Handball.
steal the bacon.
And those would be the stops. Those would be the visits on the walk.
Yeah,
And around.
those are the venues for me that were all storytelling venues. Like just the way you broke into the story about the cab, like that would happen over a game. That would happen over Skelsies. That would happen. Like the sounds. If you were in that neighborhood, and this was in the 70s, so there were street gangs along that way. But that was part of the soundscape too, right? And if you heard a sound like this from the rooftop, they used to go ah, and they'd be like, oh, they're about to meet up. Something's about to happen,
Yeah.
and slowly you would just see the street just sort of clear out, and that's all you needed, is one sound, right? And this used to happen in the middle of all these public sort of, games that we had, because, we only had 4 or 5 channels, no phones.
I remember, speaking of that, right, how important like the sounds are, right? There was one time I was with somebody walking in the barrio. I don't remember, it was a long time ago. And I was, Sammy Tanco, which is, he was part of Los Pleneros de la 21, and he's always gonna be part of the Pleneros de la 21. I was calling him from across the street. It was with someone calling him. Like, Sammy, Sammy. He couldn't hear. Sammy, for a long time. He's not listening. We have panderos with me, panderetas, right? So we go, doom, doom, and he goes, that is like a familiar sound. It's like, hey, yo, whatever. But we just want like that. And he looked, where is it? Because that's what you would hear. That's like coming off the train station, right? You come up and you hear, you're like, okay, you're chasing that sound.
Yeah.
That's what the body was for me.
Right.
You know?
For us, it was
that's
freestyle
like-
music, though, right?
that
well,
too,
I don't know.
yeah.
Freestyle more for me.
No, it was-
in hip hop and freestyle, but more freestyle.
I mean, if you just look at like the trajectory, right? Like I'm born in '67, so that means post-civil rights. That's boogaloo, salsa, hip hop, freestyle, and then along that is all this art spaces on the wall because there was a lot of graffiti everywhere. So people were really trying to say, I was here, right? And graffiti is like a good line of poetry. Like you would put it somewhere where it would be hard to erase. I think this is exactly what we're doing here. Like this whole like resistance to being erased, right? Like this is where the stories like are kind of preserved, you know, and I think that's part of what the public spaces are for too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that we're all contributing to that factor, passing it forward.
I
to
still
the
can't
next
believe I'm playing.
generation.
I can't believe I'm playing dominoes with Sonia. I can't believe it. I cannot believe I'm playing dominoes with you. I can't believe it.
It's all about going on and continuing
right.
and passing
That's right.
passing it on is the most
That's right.
important thing.
It's a highlight for me,
As
though.
you know, talking to you, Jorge, and the connection with Bomba and Plena that had to be, that's so popular now, and it had to be in Alma's way. I wasn't raised with Bomba and Plena. We were a strict Aguinaldo family, and every Friday night, and there was a lot of violence going on in my childhood all the time, but every Friday night, the guitars would come out and they would sing these what I thought were the most heartbreaking songs and these wonderful stories, and Rafael Hernandez and the Jibarito who was starving, and he, you know, the glorification of being poor. It's like grapes of wrath, right? It was that, you know, that kind of beauty.
And the Dust Bowl.
The Dust Bowl. I mean, it was all.
I love that.
It really was.
I love that.
And that somehow that was a moment where the family was able to cooperate with each other because they were teaching each other harmonies. And my mother and her brothers would sing and teaching. Yeah, I mean, and she would say no, a little higher, a little lower, so to hit it right on, and they could afinar la guitarra by them. You know, I said I'll never be a musician because I can't afinar una guitarra with my ear. They did it with their ear, and that was remarkable to me. And I had this uncle, Tio Franco, he has a laborer, so his hands were like thick, rough pillows, okay? And they were so rough, but he could play Guido with them without, I mean,
Giving yourself a treatment.
and he could make a sound
With his hand.
with his hands. He could make a sound with his rough hands, and then his feet would patter.
Wait, what was his name?
Francisco.
I just got the visual of all that.
They
old
were so
skin coming
rough.
out.
No, they were so rough. These from violent labor. You know, from working.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Remarkably violent labor, and so, but it proved to me how important the music was, that you could make it, you know, with your body, and of course, if you one up was a grater with a tenedor, with a fork.
Yeah.
That was another way.
Right.
If you didn't
Improvise
have a real Guido.
Yeah.
And then at Christmas, you knew more how important the music was, because the guy who could sing the Aguinaldo, who would come in and he could sing about my mother's dress and improvise. I mean, this was like rapping, like on the spot, and improvise with these beautiful words, and it would all rhyme, and they would give him the best cuts of the pernil. You know what I mean?
That was his reward.
Well, I could see that he was
would get the
honored.
cuero. He was like,
Yes, he would get the shot. So when your family does that, you understand, oh, that's the guy. That's the one. That's the one.
Right, that's the guy. And you know what? That's a wonderful conclusion to sound, because we are talking about music and body. Yeah, we're done because we're done. We are done. We're done. No, because I want to make music. I want to make music now. Yeah, dale with the clave. Yeah. That's what we opened with.
Yeah.
Eso. Hey. See, I still have a little bit from my childhood.
That's it. You got it. Good.
Got it.
Oh man.
Oh, we playing again?
You playing again?
I do.
That's it?